Welcome back to the Indiana State Coaches Show, live from 7th and Elm Bar and Grill as Indiana State. Here tonight, we have head coach Curt Mallory with us. We'll also have head coach Julie Hanley from Indiana State Soccer join us here within the next hour. Defensive coordinator Brad Wilson and linebacker Jonas Griffith will also be our guests here tonight. Indiana State coming off a tough road loss to the Kansas Jayhawks over the weekend. 24-17 was the final score in Lawrence. And, Coach, it was a game that your group went there to win a game. I know a lot of folks maybe on the outside are saying, man, what a great effort. You were close. You played right there with them. You guys already knew that you could. Knowing that the disappointment, not being able to get the win, I know you've only had one day with your guys since then. How have they bounced back in the short turnaround?
Well, there's no doubt about it. We went there to win the football game. The confidence was high. We came back. There was disappointment on Sunday. We got a chance to watch the film and saw some really good positive things there. But there's some things there obviously will get cleaned up this week. But we're excited to get back to work tomorrow.
I know one of the concerns coming out of the game, at least as Fritzy and I were on the radio, going through the radio broadcast, were some key guys obviously went down with some injuries during the game. Titus McCoy being one of them, who was carted off the field. I know a lot of folks on Twitter were reaching out to Titus, praying for Titus. Hopefully everything would come back. Rontrez was another. But you got good news on that front. You shared that in your press conference this morning. No season-ending injuries for your guys in the first week, and you're going to be seeing those guys back.
You know, we had some guys go down with some cramping. We'll get them back. The other two, Rontrez and Titus, of course, there was a scary moment for both of them, but got good news. Obviously, Rontrez was able to walk off, and it was scary to have a young man be carted off. And, I think Titus was more mad about being carted off than he was hurt. So he wanted to argue with me about that. But that's the type of young man he is. And, of course, he was crutching right back out there to cheer his team on. So got a lot of young men like that in our program.
Let's talk about the game a little bit. Of course, in the first half, Kansas, their only offensive score outside of a field goal was that pick six there early in the ball game. Overall, why did you feel maybe was the reason why you guys as an offense just maybe – you were able to move the ball really between the 30s, but it's really once you got close to the red zone, that's when the stop sign went up.
We it was one of the things we talked about. We got to continue our drives. Our drives stalled out. We had opportunities to kick some field goals. I would do it all over again because I got all the confidence in the world that Jerry's going to put those right through the uprights at any time. And then our offense is going to be able to move the football. But they did a good job in tightening up. Thought our defense played extremely well. Going into half, you give up one touchdown and it's not in, it's on a turnover. So I thought they flew around and really played well.
Here with head coach Curt Mallory, here live from 7th and Elm at the corner of Food and Fun here in Terre Haute. It's the Indiana State Coaches Show here on Monday night as Indiana State recapping the loss to Kansas over the weekend. But you brought up, you thought the defense played really well. It really seemed like you outgained them in the rushing category. You also had 11 tackles for loss as a team. That would have been a season high out of any game a year ago. Kansas only had 3 tackles for loss in the game. I think that really shows you were able to run the ball. You were able to create disruption in the backfield. It kind of points to that you were the more physical team and really won the battle at the line of scrimmage. Anytime you get into those type of games against the Power 5, that has to be a positive note for you and the staff when you go back and you look and you see that you won those categories.
There's no doubt about it. We're going to start with run the football. I thought we were able to run the football. I thought we threw the ball what we wanted to see. I thought we've improved in that aspect. Defensively, there's no question about it. They're playing fast. They're flying around. We have strength in numbers up in the defensive line. That's only going to help us, especially down the road. We felt throughout the game they're having troubles blocking us up front. We were getting great pressure, of course, having 11 tackles for loss. We created 3 turnovers, so the defense was flying around. They were fun to watch out there.
No doubt we know what Jonas brings to the table and what he has brought during his time, but as we were meeting and preparing for the game on Saturday, you told me, you said, Luke, don't be surprised if Caleb Brewer has a big game. Guess what? Caleb Brewer was named the Defensive Player of the Week in the Missouri Valley Football Conference. What did Caleb do in the offseason that gave you that confidence to tell me that and many others that, but also what allowed him to succeed on Saturday and not just to be able to back it up, not just talk about it? He went out there and showed it.
Well, he had to sit out his first year, and then we got him back this past year, and you just saw him getting better and better each week. The confidence grew throughout the season, had a great off season, and has really played well for us. And again, he's just part of the 21 D linemen we have, and that's a great problem to have, I guess, is that you got a lot of guys that can play, and he's one of them.
Anoke Moala was another guy making a return from a season-ending injury a year ago. He was the one that recovered really 2 key fumbles. One, of course, that put you up 17-16 with just over 4 minutes to go. What did you see from Anoke in his first on-game action since playing UNI a year ago at home?
Well, when Noakes got hurt in the Northern Iowa game, he was playing at a high level, and he was probably on pace to be an all-conference player for us. Was really playing well for us. Had an unfortunate wrist injury, broke his scaphoid, so we had to have surgery. So that limited him not only in spring, but it really limited him throughout summer. And then, had a soft tissue incident. So now he's recovered 100%, and it's great to have him out there. He's a huge presence for us, and really made some great plays for us.
We brought this up earlier in your weekly press conference, and I'll bring it up again for those that maybe didn't watch it or haven't heard it yet. But there were times in that game where I really felt I hated how the game ended because the defense played so well for honestly probably about 90 to 95% of that game, specifically in the secondary. I know Mackay had a tough last drive, but you think throughout that game, I'm forgetting the exact moment, but it was in the third quarter, Kiavis Cummings just rises up. He literally has the interception in both of his hands. He tips it back to himself, tipped it again, and goes right in to the hands of a Jayhawk wide receiver. It just seemed like even though there were tough plays like that throughout the game, the secondary was in a position to make a lot of plays.
Yeah, no question. I think when you watch the film, I mean, our corners contested every throw. There was probably one time they got behind us, but other than that, I mean, we were right there with them. They made some plays, we made some plays, and we'll start making those plays. We're in position to do it, and I've seen those guys make them all through camp, and they'll make them all through the season.
You also said after the game, look, I would not trade Ryan Boyle for anybody, and even though those were 2 tough turnovers in the game, the one interception we alluded to there early in the game, which resulted in a pick 6. And then obviously in the second half, that interception down the red zone trying to force in Dakota Caton. What was the biggest thing that you felt Ryan has to learn from week 1?
Well, I think he knew right away, that he misread the first one, and but that's part of it. And he knew walking off, coming out in between plays, he just read it wrong. And that's the type of young man he is. I mean, he knows the game, knows the coverages, and just misread it. And that happens. And he bounced back, was playing really well. And you take 2 throws away, and obviously, when you're a quarterback and you touch the ball every play, you got to make great decisions. And like I said, I wouldn't trade Ryan Boyle for any quarterback in the country. We're fortunate to have him. He's been a great leader for us. He's a team captain, and he'll learn from it and bounce back and have a great week this week.
A fair warning. I don't know if this is a fair question to ask, but after you have a game like that on Saturday where you told your team, I think it's even to those that watch your team knew they probably played average, didn't play exceptionally well, and still had a chance to win the game. What does go through your mind when you're watching the tape and you know that your team played average and you were one drive away from beating a Big 12 team, and it was your average game? It wasn't that everybody had a career game for their life and you came up short. You probably had a lot of guys who just played probably halfway to their potential, and you still had a chance to win. How do you as a coach just deal with that dynamic? And is that one where you're never happy with a loss? You want to win every game you play, but can you walk away from that going, man, I can live with that a little bit, knowing we played average and still had a chance to win the game?
Well, I think the expectations that we have for these guys and the expectations they put on themselves, the bar has been risen, and when we say they're playing average, we know they can play a lot better. And that's the expectation they put on themselves. That's the expectation our coaches put on them, and the expectations at the position. And if a young man unfortunately goes down, then the next guy's got to jump in there and play at the same level. And I wouldn't by any means say that they played poorly. We can play a heck of a lot better, and we will. When you watch the film, there were game mistakes, and those are mistakes that are going to be corrected, but there wasn't a bunch of them. There wasn't MAs, there wasn't alignment issues, there was only 4 penalties in the game, and you're gonna if you walk away from a game with 4 penalties, you're feeling pretty good. And their effort was good, but we're just going to improve this week, and we're anxious to get back out in the field tomorrow.
And you mentioned to your guys too, even leading into that game, you look around the league. The Valley came up short in a lot of big games. You and I had a really good shot to beat Iowa State, a ranked Big 12 team at the time. Of course, South Dakota State, everybody got to see that game on Thursday night. We're close. But you brought up to your team, look, there were game mistakes within those games that prevented those teams from being able to accomplish. Do you feel that, when you kind of look at it at your team here in Terre Haute, is it almost a little bit of reinforcement, when you say those things to your guys, now – our coach was right. We maybe didn't have the best week of preparation. That's why we kind of played a little bit average. Now it's time to get back to work and play to the capability we can.
We talked about that. And they've heard me say this, and our coaches have said it. Game week is all week, and that's your preparation starts on Sunday, and it starts on Sunday and watching and learning from the game before. And starting to hydrate and getting your rest, so you're getting good rest on Sunday night and Monday night, and Monday is your academic day, and Tuesday those are your work days, and it takes all week to get ready for the game. And I know they're buying into it. They have gotten better at that. I thought we were just average on how we prepared. If we can get that to where we're each and every day, we're going to have a great week and a great day on Saturday.
I know you and your staff know it's going to be an extremely tough challenge this weekend with Dayton. We'll preview the Dayton Flyers later on in the show in our final segment with Coach. We're going to take a break here, Coach. Thanks for stopping by here for the first segment. Don't go too far away.
Okay.
That was head coach Curt Mallory. When we come back here at 7th and L, we'll be joined by Julie Hanley, the head coach of Indiana State Women's Soccer. You're listening to the Indiana State Coaches Show, live from 7th and L. It's the Indiana State Coaches Show, live from 7th and L Bar and Grill, Indiana State. Women's soccer, they are in the midst of their season right now. Head coach Julie Hanley is our guest. Indiana State football is not the only team this weekend. I'll be taking on Dayton. You'll be taking on Dayton on Sunday, Coach. But first and foremost, thanks for taking the time, Julie. It's always good to see you. How's Coach Hanley doing here on the cusp of a pretty important road trip for your team this weekend?
Things are going well. We were home this past weekend and played a very good Milwaukee team on Friday. And then yesterday we had SAU Edwardsville. And I thought our performances were for the most part, very good. We've got a young team. We're still looking for our first win. But I think going on the road to play a Central Michigan team who's tied with a couple of Big Ten teams and beat Illinois Chicago is going to be a tough task for us on Friday. And then, like you said, on Sunday we've got Dayton, who's typically in the top 25 for women's soccer. So it's going to be another tall task, but I think we're up for it, and our kids are playing well and staying positive and have a lot of confidence.
I know we talk a lot about this throughout the season and kind of really with all of our sports at Indiana State, but the biggest thing obviously with what you want in your non-conference schedule is to challenge your team, to go through adversity, because come conference play, when those games, it's not that you don't want to say these games right now don't matter, because they do, but your conference games are really magnified. That's why you put a challenging schedule in front of them, and that's why you want to see them deal with adversity, because you want to see how they adjust to that adversity.
Yeah, and I think Coach Allman said it last week when she was talking about how they schedule as well. So our non-conference, portion of the season is very, very tough. But I think once we do get into those conference games, like you said, we're not going to see anything we haven't seen in the non-conference preseason. So I think from that standpoint, it's good to challenge our kids and put them in situations that they're going to have some adversity and they have to play out of it. But I'm still, have all the confidence in the world in this group, and we'll bounce back. And come conference time, I think we'll be ready to go because of how difficult our non-conference season has been.
You mentioned not being able to maybe have that tangible W to touch yet, but when you do watch the film, what do you like? What are some of the positives that you are relaying to your team? Say, hey, if you just here's what we're doing well. Don't think that everything is not good right now.
Yeah, I think it's just a couple of mistakes here and there, and they're easily fixable. But the good news is they're competing for 90 minutes. They're playing with some energy. They're bringing the effort every day in training. So, the non-negotiables we talk about, their attitude, energy, and their effort, that's always been there. so that's good. You don't have to coach that or address that with any of our players. But it's just a few little mistakes here and there that are very fixable. And I told them with the kids in that locker room are still the kids that we believe in and have confidence in. And once conference season gets here, I think we're going to surprise a lot of teams. They just have to keep trusting the process and keep taking it a day at a time. And right now the results aren't what we want. And I hate losing just as much as the next person, but realize that in the bigger picture at the end of October, I think we'll be pretty proud of what we're able to accomplish.
Julie Hanley is our guest, the head coach of the Indiana State women's soccer team. Indiana State will hit the road and play the Chippewas from the Mid-American Conference Friday. There'll be a 7 o'clock first pitch for that one on the pitch. And then September 8th, Sunday at Dayton. That'll be a 1 o'clock game to close out the weekend before 3 straight home matches. You mentioned kind of those difficulties with the teams this weekend, the challenges you will face. What are some of those areas, as you mentioned, that you think maybe your team is close to clean up? The intangibles, they're doing good. Those things of, doing the little things right. For a coaching cliche, that's what they're doing. Where do you want to see your team maybe make that jump this weekend that could maybe get some really big wins and could be a huge confidence boost?
Yeah, I think from a defensive standpoint, we've always kind of been a defensive-minded team, and I think that area has been very, very good. I think in the attacking, and obviously we're looking for someone that can put the ball in the back of the net. So just maybe being a little bit more selfish in around the box, and just having a shot on goal that maybe in the past people would shy away from doing. But I think just the mentality going forward, and just having the confidence to beat people on the dribble or to take a shot from distance or whatever it may be. We're trying to empower them to be able to do that and tell them that we trust them in those areas and just to make plays. So I think more on the attacking end is something that we want to try and focus on. And then obviously defensively cleaning up a few mistakes in the back that maybe are costing us goals is another area that we probably need to focus on as well.
Of course, you spend a lot of time at Memorial Stadium as well. That's, of course, where your team plays home games here in Terre Haute. I talked with Coach Mallory earlier today. Of course, a lot of signage, a lot of new stuff has really gone up at Memorial Stadium, not just this year, but over the past couple of years. Just from your program perspective, what has that been like to see the transformation of where you play? Because it doesn't just have an impact for the football program. It has a major impact on your program as well.
Right, and I think Coach Mallory, since he's been here, he's been nothing but supportive of me and our program, and for him to be so available for us as coaches and as a team is absolutely phenomenal. But the improvements that have gone on at the stadium, whether it be the lights, the signage, the new turf, all that we're benefiting from as well. And I think he touched on injuries last week, and from our standpoint, that's helped keep our players healthy as well, is because they have a good surface to play on, and they're in an environment that is safe for them to compete and train on. So I think just the transformation in the past couple of years has been incredible.
My last question to you, Julie, is Julie Hanley joins me, the head coach of the Indiana State women's soccer program here at the Indiana State Coaches Show, live in Terre Haute, Indiana, at the corner of food and fun. I said 3 straight non-conference matches, but you actually have your five straight at home after this weekend stretch. I know that really kind of obviously answers this question I'm about to ask you, but just the importance of maybe trying to get one this weekend to start a streak when you know you're going to be at home and not on a bus, even though you love being with Dan the man. You're going to look forward to finally being at home for a good, significant amount of time.
Yeah, I mean, playing at home is nice. Obviously, the players get to sleep in their own beds, and family and friends are at the game supporting. But I think if we can get a result this weekend, I think that would be huge for us headed into that 5-game stretch and just moving forward. And the results are coming, and I truly do believe that, and I know that they're coming. Obviously, right now it's not the pace that we would like them to, but we have 10 freshmen, and so it's a young group, and the senior leadership from that standpoint has been phenomenal since I've been here. That senior class has been someone that has helped integrate those freshmen into the program. So from that standpoint, it's been very, very positive for us. But yeah, getting a result on the road is never easy, and if we could get one moving forward, I think that would kind of help jumpstart us into a little streak.
Well, like you said, the results are going to come because your group's going to continue to work hard. Coach Hanley, thanks so much for stopping by and chatting with us. Once again, that was Julie Hanley with Indiana State Women's Soccer. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to be joined by defensive coordinator Brad Wilson for the Indiana State football program. You're listening to Indiana State football. You're listening to the Indiana State Coaches Show live from 7th and L. You're listening to the Indiana State Coaches Show live from 7th and L Bar and Grill at the corner of food and fun. Now joined by Indiana State defensive coordinator Brad Wilson. One of my favorite guys to always catch up with. Of course, all Sycamore fans get to see Coordinator's Corner throughout the year, get to see a lot of Coach Wilson. Coach, I know it wasn't the result you guys were hoping for this past weekend, but how did you feel overall that your defensive group was able to perform on Saturday?
As Coach said, I feel like that, the energy and the enthusiasm and the effort, the overall just effort and energy that we played with was great. I think that when you have an opportunity to generate as many negative plays as they were able to generate and play on their side of the line of scrimmage as much as we were able to do and generate some takeaways, that speaks to, the ability to have some success and gotta shore some things up and obviously find a way to finish there at the end.
We've talked about it time and time again throughout the 3 years that we've been together. Is you've told me, said, Luke, you can have a game where you play really well for 59 minutes, but when you need to make that one stop in that last minute, you got to be able to make that one stop. What was just the frustration of just that final drive when you were able to go back and you were able to watch it?
You said it. I mean, you go from that's a short celebration now. I mean, you find a way to score on defense, which is a great thing. But you've got to go right back out and they came with some tempo there and were able to get us on our heels a little bit and hit a couple plays down the field. But I think that the thing is, we put our guys in those situations over and over and over, and every day in practice, every day through fall camp. There wasn't a situation in that game that we were in that we hadn't been in some fashion. But I think that, whether it's a communication breakdown here or there, an angle to the ball, playing the ball in the air, whatever it may be, I think that those are the things that, like Coach said, that are mistakes that are easily correctable. And every single one of those guys that was on the field in that last drive, you'd throw them right back out there again and have 100% faith that they'll get the job done.
Again, Brad Wilson joins us, the defensive coordinator for the Indiana State football Sycamores. Indiana State coming off a loss to Kansas over the weekend. 24-17 was the final score. As you mentioned, though, there were positives in that game against Kansas over the weekend, even though the end result is not what you guys expected or wanted for that matter. I asked Coach about this in the first segment, about 11 tackles for loss as a group. It really seemed like no matter who you rotated in there, you were able to penetrate their offensive line, which, by the way, was probably their biggest strength as a football team for Kansas. What did you guys do well on Saturday that you hope you can build off of and anticipate that even more as you go throughout the season?
Well, we say it all the time, it all starts up front. And I think that, Coach Smith does a great job with those guys of the importance of pad level, get off, and playing physical and playing on their side of the line of scrimmage, and allows some of the guys that we have at the next level, whether it's Jonas or Clayton or Matt Thompson or Davion or Kelvin Broom or, these linebackers to flow and make some plays. And we've got some guys that have the ability to do that. And when those guys up front are generating, some penetration and playing on their side of the line of scrimmage and demanding, double teams and combos and so forth, it allows those other guys to run free a little bit. And they know we're going to be aggressive. I mean, that's our nature just as a unit in general. And we tell them all the time that, if you'll play like your hair's on fire, we'll turn you loose.
You also mentioned, playing with your hair on fire, being able to rotate a lot of different guys in. I feel defensively, even though many may go, man, Caleb Brewer, Defensive Player of the Week, really didn't see that coming. Well, you guys as a staff did. And Caleb, Anoke, really that defensive end group was one you felt you really were stockpiled at. But maybe the interior is where you really wanted to kind of get more answers at. Did you feel you had some answers there? Because Michael Gant had a pretty productive day. Henrik Bart, of course, who started as well, went and had some key times. Saw Tierra Turner get some reps too. It really seems like all of a sudden, maybe those first 2 years when we were here, there was just a small group that you could sit out there. Now, that's not the case anymore. There's a lot of guys that you can, kind of dip into the well, so to speak.
Absolutely. I mean, those guys have all developed, and you come here for the opportunity to play and compete. And whether you're a young guy or a fourth or fifth year senior, the reason you do this is to go compete on game day. So, and I thought that, the guys like Henrik Barnt and Tierra Turner and even Lucas Hunter got in there and got some reps. Michael Gant's been around here for a long time, and so they took advantage of an opportunity to go out there and compete and play and get some good action, and really did some good things. I think that, Whether it was, one-on-one pass rush opportunities to affect the quarterback, whether it was, again, playing on their side of the line of scrimmage, they did some really good things inside, and we feel good about, as you said, the stockpile of guys that we're rolling in there to keep those guys fresh as we go throughout the course of the game and the course of a season.
I don't want to make it sound when I ask this or even say this as it was a perfect day for him, because it wasn't. But I think even Sycamore fans got a little bit of taste of Keavis Cummings is going to be a pretty darn talented guy on the back of that secondary. Someone just quite honestly, I don't think we've seen in our 3 years together that can really change the complexion of a game like he did, where he made a lot of athletic plays. Just unfortunately, sometimes Kansas made a lot of athletic plays too.
Absolutely. Keavis got his hands on a few balls, and he's going to continue to do that, and he's going to bring those in. I mean, he's a guy that we have tremendous faith in and believe that, he brings a dimension to our defense that he's an extremely competitive individual. And I think that he sets a high expectation for himself and goes out there with the expectation to compete at a high level every single day and every snap that he takes. And as you said, he continues to put himself in those positions, and those balls are going to start falling his way.
A little mantra that you guys have as a defense, because I obviously see your wristband, and this is our first year for doing the football coaches show during our 3 years here. You had this mantra a year ago. I kind of want to ask you, for the folks who are here, maybe not know it, the dark side. That's what you guys call yourself as the defensive group. You have those wristbands. Obviously, you give them out when guys do specific things during a game or a practice. You got to earn it to be able to have and wear one of those. Just for those that maybe that don't know the background and don't know kind of what fed into that, kind of describe how that mentality and why that's an important thing in your defensive room.
It has to do with, the way you go about your work and the way that you embrace the process. And we tell them all the time that what you do in the dark will come to the light. And obviously what's in the dark is all throughout the week. And you heard Coach say it, game week is all week. And the way you go about your preparation, the way you take care of your body, the way you study film, the way you go to walk through, the way you attack individual, group, team, whatever it is, that stuff comes to the light on game day. And we just try to stay in the dark as we go about our work. I think that you've got to be wired a certain way to play on this side of the ball. You said it earlier that you can play your tail off for 55 minutes and don't finish a game at the end and not feel very good. And I think that, we understand that as coaches, they understand that as players, and that's why in a game like that, every drive is a game-winning drive, and you have to treat it that way. And, as I said earlier, I'd throw those guys right back out there in that same situation and know they're going to get it done. But that's kind of where it comes from. I think it's a mentality that, it's a unit, and it's definitely a brotherhood and a group that loves competing together, loves playing together, and loves working together every day.
When you think about your group as you continue to make those strides, where do you want to see your group maybe make those improvements as you go from week 1 to week 2? Because I know it's a coaching cliche. It's something you kind of hear a lot that coaches say, but it is where you make the most improvement is from week 1 to week 2.
I think no matter what happens, win or lose a game, you're going to try to improve on things every single week and every single day. And schematically, you're going to do certain things to attack a team, given what they do. But again, it's not about what we do; it's about how we do it and how we go about our work. And again, whether it's angles to the ball, whether it's communication, whether it's the way we go about attacking the ball carrier and how we tackle, the way we use our hands to beat a block, the way we play the ball in the air, all those different things that, because we tell our guys that all the time, that we've got a lot of great players on the defensive side of the ball, and you give us a place to stand, somebody's going to make a play. And I think that, like I said, as you look at it, it's always about constant improvement and focusing on the things that you need to do at a high level to have success on game day.
I'm very fortunate that the head coach of the football program allows a lot of access for a guy like me, and we get to do a lot of cool video features throughout the year. The most popular video series we ever did was One-on-One with Dad. I think you were almost kind of thinking as you were walking up here that you thought Logan or Brady was going to come up and take my headset, and this was going to be another One-on-One with Dad segment, didn't you?
I was going to walk out if you did that. I'll be honest with you. I didn't need to be on the hot seat anymore. That was a really neat thing that you did, and I know that myself, Coach Mallory, Coach Smith, we all appreciated that. That was a really neat deal. I'm sure that our boys enjoyed it, maybe even a little bit more than we did. But that was just a little piece into what Logan brings every single day. If you're not, he's never at a loss for words and keeps you on the edge of your seat, and we love that about him.
Well, the best thing is we'll have a secret package with Brady. You just don't know when it's coming.
Oh, great.
So we got Logan out of the way. Now we just gotta get Brady sometime in there too throughout the year. Just final thoughts. I know you're going to continue to go throughout this week and prepare for Dayton, but for those that you maybe look at the past 2 years, Dayton has been 11-11 in terms of 500 the past 2 years, but Pioneer Football League, they are the number one team when it comes to how many championships they've won. This is a program that is used to winning. You look at their offense, they have a tight end who's probably going to be playing in the NFL, who's a really good draft pick. I know Coach Mallory will get to him at the end of the show, but, the guys got to know, Kansas was going to be a tough week 1, but this is going to be a really tough task this weekend with a good football team coming in here.
It's going to be an extremely great challenge, and we have tremendous respect for this program. Coach Chamberlain's been there for an extremely long time, and really respect the way that he runs the program and the way that they handle their business. And we know that they're going to come in here with the same expectation that we're going to go into to the game with, and that's the expectation to win. And I think that. Again, as you've seen the success that they've had over the years and the success all the way back to Coach Kelly and now to Coach Chamberlain, they've been able to go out and get a lot of great players from great programs across the state of Ohio, Pennsylvania, Kentucky, wherever it may be, and, really got those kids to buy in and play hard. And we know that that this week of preparation and this game deserves everything that we have, and that's what we're going to give it.
How excited is Riley in the back to attend her first game at Memorial Stadium?
Well, she looks pretty excited right now. We'll see. Hopefully we can give her some things to cheer about and stay awake.
Coach Wilson, appreciate the time, buddy.
Thanks,
Always
Luke.
a pleasure. Once again, that was defensive coordinator Brad Wilson. We're going to take a break. When we come back, Jonas Griffith, the linebacker for defensive coordinator Brad Wilson, joins us. You're listening to Indiana State Football. The Indiana State Coaches Show live from 7th and Elm Bar and Grill. Indiana State football getting ready for Dayton this weekend at Memorial Stadium. It is going to be the home opener, so be sure to make your way out this weekend. 1 o'clock kickoff, Pepsi countdown to kickoff on the radio. We'll hit the air about noon this Saturday. Dennis Porter, big thank you to Dennis, who's back in our studios on Wabash Avenue here in Terre Haute. I'm Luke Martin alongside the linebacker, the leader of the Indiana State defense, Jonas Griffith. Jonas, how are you doing tonight, man? I know you wish you got a win over the weekend, but you're always a smiling guy, and I'm sure very eager to get back out on that practice field tomorrow with your group.
I'm fantastic, Luke Martin. It's always a good day when I get to see you.
You don't have to go that far. But even though this weekend, I know you guys really believe that you could get a win against Kansas, that you guys could not just get that win, but obviously pull that out and not just play with them, but pull out that game and get the win. Even though it wasn't the result you wanted, what do you think you guys can take away as a team that can help you in preparation for this game against Dayton this weekend?
I mean, just moving forward, our preparation is key to everything. We work hard every day in the weight room, film, study, practice, just give ourselves the opportunity to compete against any opponent.
You mentioned giving yourselves that opportunity. What did you feel your guys and your teammates, such as a Caleb Brewer and an Oke Mawala, who I know you're very close to, guys who were really maybe surprise the fans a little bit in what transpired on Saturday, but I know internally for you guys, there was no shock. That was the expectation, and you guys as a group knew that those were guys who can make plays.
Well, we went into the game knowing that we could compete with those guys and with our preparation. Coach Wilson put us in the right position to do the right thing and make the right plays. And, the defensive end position is a position for us that is very stacked, and we have some talented guys there with Oke Mawala and Caleb Brewer.
And like you mentioned, it's deep and it even goes further than those guys because it's a room that you guys work with day in, day out. You kind of give them a lot of credit, too. I know you get a lot of attention, but there's a reason. You got a lot of lanes to run through and maybe get some tackles. It's because of what those guys up in front of you are doing, too.
Oh, yeah, the whole defense is just super, physical and fast and just guys flying around and just Coach Smith puts the defensive line in the right position, to make us linebackers look good. Me and Clayton, and also the secondary does a great job as well. It's a whole team effort.
Well, you don't have to give Coach Smith and his group too much credit, but you guys deserve some credit, too, in the linebacker room for how good you guys are. Once again, Jonas Griffith is our guest here live from the Indiana State Coaches Show from 7th and Elm. Corner of Food and Fun here in Terre Haute. Indiana State preparing for the Dayton Flyers this weekend on Saturday. For those that maybe not know a little bit of your background in this room, you only had 1 year of organized football before you came to Indiana State. Football was not something that you have been playing since you were 4 or 5 years old. If I remember right, when we did a story on you a year ago, you said it really took begging mama a little bit to let you play your senior year. And Lord behold, look at you here, your senior year here at Indiana State, on the verge of accomplishing some really cool things as a team. How would you describe just your path to this moment, Jonas, of when it's not like you've been playing this game for a long time, even though there's some heritage in your family of football skill?
Well, I grew up, with blue-collar parents, that raised us to work hard, and do the right thing all the time. And just, they instilled that in us at an early age. And just, I feel like that falls over into the football aspect of things. Just football's the same way, just a family atmosphere, especially on defense, and I feel like that falls over. And I feel like it built me for this opportunity.
Did you really think, back to that first year you played organized football, that all that has transpired now and is on your doorstep, not just your doorstep, but the team's doorstep, did you ever think that you maybe would be in this moment?
I mean, not really. In high school, I really played piano and basketball, little Stevie Wonder, But no, I played piano and basketball. I never saw myself playing football at the collegiate level, especially D1 here at Indiana State. But, I'm super thankful for the opportunity that the coach have given me, and just grateful and just want to make the most of it.
We get a lot on film. I don't know if do we ever get a Jonas Griffith and Coach Brad Wilson duet going on in the office at all? Like, does Coach Wilson bust out some tunes every once in a while? Because if so, I haven't really been in a defensive meeting room a lot. I think I need to start showing up a little bit more if that's the case. I know, now he's watching you as you're about to answer this question too, so no pressure.
The only time Coach Wilson is sing is, after a win. But the only time you hear him raise his voice is he's yelling at you, to do the right thing. But Coach Wilson, good guy. He's like a big brother / father figure, and just shows us ropes and super passionate and, love working with the man every day.
You mentioned one thing about Coach Wilson that I obviously agree with you on, and why you enjoy learning from him is he demands excellence, not just being good, not just being great. He demands excellence every day in everything you guys do. Describe that a little bit, a guy that's in that room every day, and what you mean by that and why that's such an important thing for you as a player.
Past coaches, I've had 3 different position coaches, but, they all had their different things. But Coach Wilson demands excellence every day in every aspect of life. In, film study, the classroom, the weight room, practice field, walkthroughs, everything. It rolls over to you, and you want to be perfect. We're not going to be perfect, but that's what we strive to be with Coach Wilson every day.
Jonas Griffith is our guest, middle linebacker for Indiana State, preseason All-American. Indiana State gearing up for Dayton this weekend. A couple more questions here for you, Jonas. One, you kind of alluded to it a little bit. You have a really big family. I called them Team Griffith because there's so many of you. How did that help you growing up really get used to being around a team? Because really you've been growing up a team ever since you can remember when you're back home.
It was kind of like a miniature boot camp growing up, with all the kids and everything. But, it was good. And just, I usually only got one helping of food because, just too much kids and there was never leftovers. But, same as a football team, there's not really much food left after, the first round. But, no, it helped shape me into, this team atmosphere and just, the guys, treat them like family because, they are family and stuff like that.
Being able to get back out into that field after a loss, describe that eagerness, regardless of what it is, of just that anticipation of wanting to get back out there and be able to show what you guys can do, but also balancing what Coach Mallory has said to you guys. You can't be ready to play Saturday today. You got to have a great Sunday, a great Monday, a great Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then get to Saturday. How do you balance that when you're probably just wanting to get back out there to that practice field and get to work tomorrow?
Losing to Kansas left a bad taste in our mouth. We were expecting to go in and win, and we didn't end up getting the end result that we wanted. But, learn from it, watch the film, but, put in the past, and it's on the date. And, it's a great opportunity for us to go 1-0 this week.
On to Dayton, chance to go 1-0 this week. Jonas, appreciate you hopping on the show and spending a few minutes with us, buddy.
Appreciate you, Lamar.
Once again, that was Jonas Griffith. We're going to take a break. When we come back, Coach Mallory and I will wrap up the show previewing the Dayton Flyers. You're listening to Indiana State Football from Sycamore Athletics.
This is Curt Mallory, and you're listening to Indiana State football on WIBQ 97.9 FM.
Indiana State preparing for the Dayton Flyers this weekend. It's the Indiana State Coaches Show. Big thanks for Julie Hanley stopping by earlier tonight, Jonas Griffith, and defense coordinator Brad Wilson. Coach, now let's look towards this weekend in Dayton. And I know folks may want to get caught up in the records and maybe get caught up in the name a little bit, but when you think about what Dayton football has done, I mean, we kind of alluded to it earlier. Mike Kelly, who was the all-time winningest coach in program history, he won 82% of his games at Dayton, and all Coach Chamberlain has done since then is do the same thing. Mm-hmm. He has been a part of 379 of Dayton's 679 wins as a football program. Coach Chamberlain has a lot of pride in his team, and when you know that, you're going to face a group that's going to be gutty and going to be proud to wear that Dayton uniform because they're going to resemble the personality of their head coach.
Absolutely. This is a program rich in tradition. I've had a lot of success. Coach Chamberlain's been there a long time. I really like what they do offensively. I really like their quarterback. Quarterback reminds me of our quarterback. And I think everybody knows how we feel about Ryan Boyle, but I think this is a really, really good quarterback. He can extend plays. He moves around. He's a competitor. He's a winner. Really like their tight end. Coach Chamberlain's a defensive coach. His defensives always play well. They fly around. They're tough. This will be a heck of a challenge. I've said it all along. This will be the biggest challenge so far, is not in Lawrence, Kansas, but here in Terre Haute, and we got a heck of a challenge this weekend.
You were talking about Jack Cook, alluding to him, obviously a freshman All-American a year ago. And for those that maybe don't know kind of the backstory for Jack Cook, Alex Jeske, who was a quarterback for the Flyers who threw for over 5,000 yards in his career. He was the starter last year. He led Dayton to that playoff run in 2015. He gets hurt in the opening quarter for them. Jack Cook enters. Talk about tough expectations to try to step in for a guy who historically is one of the best to ever suit up in a Dayton uniform. And like you said, all he did was produce.
He really did. He had a great year last year. Was probably waiting, not sure when his time was going to come. And when he had his opportunity come, he made the most of it. And he was named freshman team All-American and had a tremendous year. And I'm sure he's looking to do the same this year.
You talked about their tight end as well. But when you flip it defensively, what do you think are going to be some of those challenges that Ryan Boyle and that offense looking to make a jump from week 1 to week 2? Going to be a little bit of a challenge, too, from that side from what you've seen.
Absolutely. We're always going to start with running the football. We've got to clean up some things on both sides of the ball, and that's special teams, defense, offensively. That's what we'll do in practice this week. There's some things we can do better. There's things we did do good, and we got to just get better at those things. But anxious to get back to work. We've got. I know this team is, as Jonas said, they got a sour taste in their mouth, and there's no question about it. This team wants to win, week in and week out. And but we put the last one behind us, and we're getting ready for the next one.
How unique is it for those that don't know? This is Dayton's first game of the season, so you kind of go back-to-back weeks of playing a team with not a ton of film to go off of. Of course, Coach Miles kept a lot of things close to his vest a little bit and not letting a lot of folks in on what they're going to run, what they're going to do. Dayton, the pieces they have, and you, of course, go back to film a year ago. But just the uniqueness of the first two teams you play, it's going to be the opener for both those teams you see as Dayton began the season with a bye.
Well, absolutely. They started off with a bye. Of course, we wanted to get started right away, so it worked out for us. So we're anxious to get into game 2. I know they're anxious to get started of their season, but this is going to be about us making some of the corrections we made a week ago and get better. And I know this team will. They're anxious to get back to work.
I'll ask you this once we get closer to, but just right now, what do you believe are going to be the Pepsi keys to victory for Indiana State to come out on top this Saturday?
Well, I think we've got to improve on our tackling defensively, and that's tackling in space. I didn't think we tackled as sharp as we were capable. Again, our expectations much higher and that's coming from our players as well. We're a better tackling team than we showed. offensively, continue to be balanced. We're always going to hang our hat on that we're not going to turn the ball over. Two turnovers is way too many. And we had 2. Of course, we created 3 on the other side. We got to continue to get the ball back to our offense, and we got to keep the ball. And those are the main things. Field position always is the key in special teams.
I know this was one of the main points that you always brought up, not just with your team, but your fans as well. This is a very important stretch for your team because you're going to be at home for virtually the next month. 3 straight home games come in, 5 of the first 7 games, of course, this year being at home too. Just knowing that you're going to be at home on Saturday, you get the home crowd fired up a little bit, and it's time to start the college football season in Terre Haute.
That's right. These next 3 weeks being at home, just really glad to be back. Starts this weekend here against Dayton. And, just it's going to be great. There's a lot of exciting things going on out at the stadium, at Memorial Stadium. Really anxious to see the look of the new look out there. I know Julie would tell you the same. They've already started out there with the banners, and just really excited about getting started this Saturday at 1 o'clock.
I'm sure Allie's probably looking forward to it, too, to come out and see that this weekend, too.
Yeah, absolutely. We're all excited, so it's we're really looking forward to not only seeing what it's going to look like, and also getting the home field and be playing out at Memorial Stadium.
But most of all, I'm sure you're just looking forward to a good Tuesday tomorrow at practice, right?
Yeah.
That's the next thing on your checklist to do.
Well, I think everybody is. I think everyone's anxious to get back. We know it's time to move on, and that's exactly what this team is, and that's what Sunday's all about. You go in, you watch the film, you put it behind you, and you move forward, and that's how this team's approached it, and now it's on to the next.
Coach, appreciate the time. Good luck this week, and obviously I'll see you throughout the week.
Absolutely. Thanks, Luke.
Once again, big thanks to Coach Mallory, Coach Julie Hanley from Indiana State Women's Soccer, Jonas Griffith, and Brad Wilson for taking time to join us here. Again, Pepsi Countdown to kickoff begins at noon this Saturday. It's Dayton and Indiana State at Memorial Stadium. We'll talk to you then. For Dennis Porter and everybody from Indiana State Athletics saying so long from the corner of Food and Fun.